All right, let's bring him in. He's Kirby Lupul. He is the host of the Cats and Rats podcast. You see him on his Spaces on X, as you can see right there, KJ Loops. Kirby, great to have you back. How are you, my friend?
Awesome, Lou. I wanted to have you back on our show during the regular season there, but we weren't able to do it. So it's nice to be back here with you, and we got to get you on our show down the road here.
Oh, anytime. I know it just was a crazy time of year with everything going on with me off the ice, if you will. But all of that is done and in the rearview mirror, and so I get to do more things like this. And so, listen, I wanted to have you on. My goodness, it's the off season, but you'd never know. Florida taking front and center. Got to ask you right out of the chute. Give me your first impressions on the big trade to get Brady reunited with Matthew, the Tkachuk brothers.
Yeah, this feels like old familiar territory for me because our community kind of broke the Matthew Tkachuk trade. Like we didn't break the trade, but we were there to be live for it and get the fan reaction and all of that type of stuff. So it feels like deja vu here again. Wasn't even at home when I heard the trade. Had to hustle home. Had my other co-hosts get our shows ready to go, and we were on YouTube. And it was just great. The excitement, the energy. And we thought this summer would be Bill Zito summer again, like we saw a few summers back with the Matthew Tkachuk trade. He's up to something here. I thought it was going to be Connor Hellebuck, but surprised to hear there it's Brady Tkachuk. And I think the thing that the Brady Tkachuk trade here, Lou, that kind of gets hidden, earlier in the day on Sunday, Bill Zito makes a trade with the Seattle Kraken to not only get one draft pick, but to get 2 draft picks for Mackie Samoskevich to send him out to Seattle, first and second rounder. Ends up being a big part of this Brady Tkachuk trade here. I've always said this, and some people don't agree with me on this. I think Brady Tkachuk to the Panthers is a luxury, not a need. But now we see how the rest of this roster is going to kind of come together here. The goaltending has become the biggest question mark and the biggest need for the Panthers here. But now you add Brady Tkachuk, and I'm a big proponent of this, and I keep saying this. I would love to see him on the top line with Alexander Barkov, get mentored by Alexander Barkov, like Barkov and Huberdeau were mentored by Jaromir Jagr.
Wow, and that's I love your point you made a minute ago. It's not a need, it's a luxury, and I think that I just love how he fills it in. But more importantly, I want to go back to this mentality that I love about the Panthers, kind of like what they have with Vegas along the same lines. They're playing to win now, Kirby, and not a lot of teams do that. They're afraid to pull the trigger on that because they're afraid of what's going to happen down the road. You don't see that in Florida, and I think they've got a team that is set up both to win now and in the future.
Yeah, and great points by you, Lou, and I appreciate that. We're always going to be public enemy number one. Vegas is used to playing that role as well. We took a break from it, missing the playoffs here with all the injuries that we have sustained this year. Not to make excuses, but when you lose your captain on day one of training camp, that plays a big factor in what you have moving forward. I want to mention a name that kind of alludes to your question there, Seth Jones. Yeah. Everyone's like, it's not fair that all these players want to go to the Panthers or it's on their trade list. Anyone could have had Seth Jones. Yeah. People thought the guy was washed. They didn't like what he was doing in Chicago. His game dropped off from where he was in Columbus. Bill Zito makes the right moves at the right time. When some of these GMs, they don't want to pull the trigger, or they don't believe this player can rebound into form, or this player might not fit their system. Happened with the Brandon Montour move. Happened with Sam Bennett. Any team out there, Luke, could have had these individuals and these players. So that always gets kind of thrown at our fan base and us in the media and content creators. Well, just everyone wants to go play in Florida. No, Bill Zito makes the right decisions. He said today on the press conference, we have a list at all times, including players that you don't even think will be available. And when they become available, they say Connor Hellebuck, for example. So their list is always updating, and they're always checking in on players that might not be there. And again, what Bill Zito said today, Steve Stales picked up the phone and called Bill Zito and said, hey, what type of deal do you want to work here in Framework? And then Bill Zito went to work like he does, getting on the phone. He loves that phone and making all these wheeling, dealing moves like these the draft picks for Mackie Samoskevich here.
Well, you got to give me Bill Zito's number so I can try my best to convince him to send Anton Lundell up to Detroit, and you can have Dylan Larkin.
I'm an Anton Lundell truther. Shout out to my boy Banksy, Nick Fairbanks on the Locked On Florida Panthers network. I'll say he's the captain of the Lundell fan base. But yeah, we've always said like this guy's a 2C for the Florida Panthers. And you saw like some of the reports coming out, I think it was from Pierre LeBrun and some other people. They said the Panthers view him as a future 1C when Alexander Barkov gets a little bit older. But let's not age out Barkov yet, coming back off of this major ACL injury. MCL looked great fantastic in the World Championship. So I think he'll be back in form. You've got Bennett down the middle of the ice, and you got Lundell. I was willing to move pretty much any player that's, out there available, and an Erod, a Lusto that's going to be a penny free agent, even though I think you need to hold on to him right now with what the Panthers are trying to do here. But that's always the one untouchable for me in any deals. And he always gets mentioned, Lou, because he doesn't have trade protection. So yeah. I think that's why a lot of fans in Detroit, fans in Winnipeg, they're salivating over the fact, hey, if we have to make this move with one of our star cornerstone pieces, we've got to bring in a guy like Anton Lundell. But Paul Maurice has even stated in the past, he's a future captain for the Florida Panthers.
I looked at your roster this morning, and I looked at it right after the Tkachuk trade, and I look up and down at, again, I'm going back to this mentality that Florida has. Yeah, I'm jealous. I'll be the first to admit it. As a Red Wings guy, we're not there, obviously, but I look at the ages of your roster. I mean, okay, Marchand's 38, big deal. You've got Tkachuk 26, Tkachuk 28, Reinhart 26. 30 years old is like, that's nothing right now. You've got 6 to 8 years of this core. You can afford to give up these draft picks. It's just a brilliant move to get Tkachuk.
and there could be some frustration in your voice and other fan bases. And I want to say this, and maybe it's not a consolation prize for your audience, Lou, but I envied the Detroit Red Wings in the 90s and 2000s. I love Swedish hockey players. You guys had a pipeline to the Swedish hockey players. So I'm like, why can't we do this? Where is our capability of drafting? Why do players not want to come play for us? And now, the script has completely flipped as a lifelong Panther fan myself since 1993. And it's just unbelievable and very surreal to think how people envy what we do. But like you mentioned, Lou, I don't know why other GMs don't try to go out there and swing and make it. Like Edmonton is one of those teams that kind of does, and they'll swing and miss, but they'll take their swings. The head coach decision today is a major swing as well, if that's going to pan out or not. But a lot of teams, they talk about it, or you get a sense about it, but like you mentioned earlier, they just don't pull the trigger. They don't make that move or try to make moves to improve the roster. And they bring in different players. And you know this as the Red Wings fan with the Larkin situation, not good enough. Like, okay, maybe make a move, but that's not the move that, you want to indicate here as part of the fan base. Like, this needs to be a bigger move than just making a move for, like, say, a David Perron or something like that. But I'm used to that from back in the day with the Panthers. We took the B level, the C level free agents and had to overpay them to come play in Florida. And what a treat it is now that that whole thing is reversed and players want to come play for the Florida Panthers.
So are you calling this the redemption tour 26-27?
Oh, I think a lot of the fans are, and not to just besmirch the reigning defending Stanley Cup champions, Carolina Hurricanes. That's interesting. You get used to saying, because I remember back in 2006 when the team 3 hours north to me fell to them in 7 games in 2006. So now the Carolina Hurricanes in their franchise have 2 Stanley Cups, just like the Panthers, a race to 3. I think those games are going to be gritty, battle tested. And I think the Carolina Hurricanes, that we're speaking on them a little bit, they cannot rest on their laurels here. They see what Florida's doing. They see what the teams in the Atlantic Division are doing. This is a tough division. I definitely think this is a redemption tour here for the Florida Panthers. Got to see what they're going to do in net here as well. But I think Tampa Bay, they lost a golden opportunity, whether their fans want to admit it or not. They're a golden opportunity this spring by not having the Panthers in the mix. Remember when the Panthers won both of their cups back to back, they had to go through Tampa Bay. So yeah, I think this is still going to be a gauntlet in the Atlantic Division. I think the Panthers are going to be a bit more hungry to start the regular season. And you're going to see a hunger, I think, from Matthew Tkachuk, fully rested, his brother on the team. He's just going to run through a wall to start this regular season. I think it's going to be closer to his first year in Florida, where he was in contention for the Hart Trophy. I think you're going to see the best of Matthew Tkachuk here that you haven't seen since his first season in Florida.
All right. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot here for the first time here today. Give me your gut. What do you think the chances are of getting Bobrosvsky back in net for the Panthers?
Yeah, I put out a tweet a couple of weeks ago, Lou, before all the media people did, and I said he's asking for $7 million. And then you start to see the major outlets come out with it: Daily Faceoff, TSN, Pierre LeBrun, Chris Johnson, I think, was one of the first media guys on it as well. And I don't think much has changed there. I think they're at a standstill. Bob's camp has to come meet in the middle with Bill Zito and the Panthers management. Bill Zito said today at the press conference, everything is still open.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit of a body language expert. I've seen different people in the Panthers media come on Big C show. I want to give a shout out to him there. Our guy David Dwork popped on his show. I just feel like a lot of people are stunned by the situation and how it's kind of played out here, and that Bob hasn't been extended at this point. Like, Bob got $70 million on a 7-year deal, and like, he got his money, and I don't understand his camp not bending a little bit. Hey, still get 6 or 7 million per year, but on a shorter term deal, maybe a 1, 2, even 3-year. That might be starting to push it, Lou, but I'm more of the camp of a 2-year deal, but I'm not feeling confident on it. They have contingency plans. We've mentioned on the Cats and Rats podcast, Jordan Binnington is in play. Arthur Sheloffs. A lot of people don't like to hear this name, but what a revenge tour this would be. Stuart Skinner. Stuart Skinner's not the starter, but he would be in the mix for the 1B spot and situation. And another interesting name out of Vancouver, if there's some retention there, Thatcher Demko. And you just saw what price Joseph Wall went for. It wasn't that much. So I think the Panthers still have those draft picks heading into the NHL draft year. They don't have the day 1 picks, but the day 2 draft picks, they earn currently, I think right now, 2 second-round picks. So that can get the job done to try to acquire a starting goaltender in this league. So again, I don't put the odds very high here, Lou. I've always been around about 30-40% that he's returning, and I think that's where it sits at. It could be even less when this podcast drops here. So I wish the best for Bob, but I also wonder what his feelings are here moving forward. It's interesting enough, the same agent as Vladimir Tarasenko. I think Tarasenko just fired his agent. So short of Bob firing his agent on the 23rd hour, I feel Bob might be leaving South Florida.
Well, tell me what you think of a sentimental favorite for me on your roster right now out of my neck of the woods up in Alpena, that being Cooper Black.
Oh, Cooper Black. We got some Cooper Black truthers, Lou, in our community. I don't know a ton on, you probably know more than me. Give everyone a breakdown of Cooper Black, because it's a hot, contentious topic in our spaces, our post-game shows. Some people want him to be the backup, and other people don't believe in him at all. So it's very wide-ranging within the fan base. What are your views on? Because I've only watched him in rookie camp and training camp.
Oh, I'd love it. I think again, I've seen him. He's from this neck of the woods. I know he didn't play his junior hockey around here, but I love what he's done. I think he could be a good, capable backup. I don't think he's a starting goaltender in the NHL, but he's young. I mean, he's got to get a shot sooner or later, right?
Big guy, 6'8". But you think he can be a capable NHL backup? That's a win for the Panthers if that's the case, Lou.
I think he could. I hope to see it anyways. Again, it's a sentimental favorite. Being in our neck of the woods, you might as well call him a Youper. He's about a half hour, 45 minutes away from the Upper Peninsula where I grew up. So why not?
Hey, people in our community are going to chase you down for autographs, because there's some Cooper Black stands and fans in our community. So it's interesting. We have Kirill the Thrill, I call him Gerasimiak, out of Russia. I really like his form in rookie camp last year. He's probably going to maybe potentially get some exhibition games this year with Cooper Black. So it'll be interesting with that goalie battle there. And Bill Zito with the goaltending department, with Rob Tallis, Roberto Luongo, and co. They love drafting goalies, even if it's a late flyer in the draft. And look at the value they got from Devin Levi, drafting him in the 6th, 7th round, where we get Sam Reinhart brought in. So they like drafting goaltenders, guys that can be potential gems and that hold some trade value.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll throw in Kosa and Larkin to give us Lundell.
Oh, he's going up there. Hey, my co-host Cody Stevens really likes Sebastian Kosa, but I don't think he's moving Larkin. Sorry, he's not moving Lundell in the Larkin.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with Kosa. I don't think he's going to be wearing the winged wheel in the fall. It may take till training camp, but I think his days are numbered. With them,
where do you think he might end up?
I'm thinking Utah.
Ooh, I haven't heard that one.
I'm thinking Utah.
So not home to Edmonton.
Maybe. I don't know if he wants to go. Well, he has no choice to go play for Babcock, but I mean, he doesn't have that pull yet. But
you got experience with Mike Babcock being a Red Wings.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I might as well ask you about it right now. What are your thoughts of Babcock going to Edmonton?
Oh, what a risk, what a gamble, but why that move was made, I think, and we talk about this on our Cats and Rats NHL After Dark. So any of your fans that want to hear around the NHL talk, we're not just Panthers, we talk NHL. We'll probably have our season finale here in the next week or two when all the July 1st dust settles.
Yeah.
But Mike Babcock, what an interesting hire here. You heard what the Maple Leafs were doing with their hire, and then out of left field comes Jim Hiller. Same situation with Edmonton here, but obviously the number one thing that's being talked about here today, as Mike Babcock has officially been named the head coach of the Edmonton Oilers, is the leadership group wanted him. So Zach Hyman's experience with him in Toronto, Connor McDavid, people are like, well, what's the deal here? And some fans are writing, what's the deal with Connor? He's going to want out Evan. No, Connor made this decision like he has made all these other decisions with Jeff Jackson coming in as his agent, being part of the president, CEO, part of the management team. Chris Knobloch was definitely a Connor McDavid decision. Now they're on to another head coach. So Connor McDavid operates everything in Edmonton, and he's got 2 years left on his deal, but it's pretty much down to this year of what happens here. It's a make or break year for the Oilers. They've got to figure out their goaltending situation. Where's Darnell Nurse going? They're trying to operate and facilitate that, which they should have done quite a long time ago, but hard to do when he's making the money that he is. So again, this decision's from the leadership group in Edmonton. It falls all on their shoulders. If this is a success or this completely crashes and Babcock gets fired before he even coaches a game like in Columbus. So this is totally on the leadership core, and it continues to be on Connor McDavid's legacy moving forward here. I always say Connor McDavid's chasing ghosts. He's chasing the Wayne Gretzky ghost in Edmonton, and I grew up in Calgary, born and raised, and chasing guys like Mario Lemieux and Sidney Crosby, who have proven to be winners at pretty much every level here. So it doesn't matter at this point of Connor McDavid's individual accolades and, winning the Conn Smythe and the Stanley Cup effort. He's got to get the job done, and no team probably has more pressure this year than the Edmonton Oilers and Mike Babcock. So I'll be very interested in watching it very closely here, 3 hours south of Edmonton.
Boy, it's funny is, I watched his press conference or clips of it on Tuesday afternoon, and he doesn't think he did anything wrong in Columbus. And so it's like, okay, whatever.
Bold move, Cotton.
And
how he treats people and staff. I don't know if he was doing that in Detroit, but the stories that have come out of Toronto, and I don't feel a lot of sympathy for Mitch Marner, but what he did to Mitch Marner, not great for a leadership role person to grab someone's phone, put them on the spot, call out your teammates as a young player that Mitch Marner was at the time. But how you treat staff and people around you every day as a coach myself, I don't really stand for that. You've got to be a leader of men and a leader of everyone around you and everyone that's helping you within management, training staff, ushers, people that are working in the arena security staff. And if that's the type of individual he is and hasn't learned his lesson, then, I'm not in his corner.
Well, I'll tell you, all I'm going to say, the last thing I'm going to say on him is the word I use for him is vindictive. I mean, why in the hell would he not let Mike Modano suit up for his 1500th game? He made him a healthy scratch in his last game in Detroit. And why in the hell wouldn't he let Chelios suit up in that outdoor game in Chicago, although Chelios did? That is a vindictive person to me. And if he doesn't like you, boy, he'll let you know. And what he did to Johan Franzen with the mind game,
Yep. And he likes the star guys. And how are you buying the depth guys in? Is Connor McDavid giving up with the depth of the Oilers and say, hey, Babcock, you deal with them now because I'm done dealing with them? Is that an angle here?
Boy, I'll tell you, it's going to be – get the popcorn out for that one this year. You're absolutely right. But like you said, if McDavid didn't want him, he wouldn't be there. There's no doubt about that, eh?
Yep, exactly, 100.
So I got to ask you about the Hall of Fame real quick. How ironic is it? You guys – Brady Tkachuk is in the news. Then his dad gets elected to the Hall of Fame this year. I don't know if I buy him as a Hall of Famer. I really don't. But give me your give me your insight and what you think of the Hall of Fame class coming in this fall.
Yeah, I haven't broken down like all of Keith Tkachuk's accolades and numbers and things like that. Pekka Rinne was quite a surprise to me there, him being named and stuff like that. But I always thought like Patrice Bergeron, eventually Anze Kopitar, obviously Alexander Barkov with the winning. Those are Selke level guys in the molds of the past guys, Bob Gainey and Guy Carbonneau, but like even to a higher level, especially when you're talking about Alexander Barkov and Anze Kopitar. So shout out to Patrice Bergeron and stuff like that. But like Keith Tkachuk, I grew up watching him to a degree. I remember back to the 96 World Cup. Some people don't remember. That was the best on best. What a great series. That was best of 3. Go watch the highlights on that. So different images of like that. I remember him a little bit later on in his career going to the Phoenix Coyotes, namely at the time, with Jeremy Roenick, who I followed Roenick pretty close in Chicago, Eddie Belfour, those fun Chicago Blackhawk teams. So yeah, definitely made an impression on the game, but I think his legacy as a player is going to fall short to what he's doing, raising 2 sons that have not only made the NHL, like Brady said today, but they've become stars in the NHL, superstars. And I think that's going to be his legacy. So what a great Father's Day weekend for him to be named to the Hockey Hall of Fame. There's been murmurs around it past couple years. Hey, it's about his time to get in. But, there's a lot of guys that aren't in the Hall of Fame right now, like the Curtis Josephs of the world. Yeah. Many players that you can name, Lou, the forwards. And I know like Pierre Turgeon was always kind of that Hall of very good level for me, that type of player, versus like that's always been the level I'm like, you have to be above. So I've always kind of put it on Pierre Turgeon. I always think of like, wow, his numbers were pretty impressive, and to be like Hall of Fame, because he's in the Hall of Fame, Turgeon, right? I think. Yeah. So I've always put that as the barrier. So do you think, Keith Tkachuk is better than Pierre Turgeon? That's always the level that I've always kind of put it at. But very happy for the Tkachuk family able to celebrate this weekend, Hockey Hall of Fame. And it's not just Brady coming to play with his brother, Lou. Brady's got 2 young children. Matthew just had his first kid. So it's the whole family coming together. Hey, people want to hate on it, they can hate on it. But I remember growing up in the pre-salary cap era when there was trying to be these super teams, and Bobby Hall Leak, a third line center, was getting paid $10 million or whatever from the New York Rangers. So I don't feel sympathy for some people that just want to complain about it, because I remember how it used to be in the pre-cap era, and the league was the haves and have-nots. Are we going back to that now here, Lou, with the player empowerment era?
Well, I think the one thing that's going to, with the haves and have-nots, I think ultimately, in my opinion, it goes back to who you have in the front office. And Bill Zito is a mastermind right now. I mean, Kelly McCrimmon's doing it in Vegas. That's what it's going to take. Yzerman did it in Tampa. I know the patience level is very, very thin right now in Detroit, but there's player empowerment, but you still got to be able to make it fit. And ultimately, that's what it comes down to, in my opinion.
Yeah, and being in Canada, the whole narrative, and I get tired of it, and I get fatigued from it too, to be honest. Being a Canadian, but being a Panthers fan for my whole life, so I get really jammed in the middle, and everyone wants my opinion. Our Canadian followers, our American followers, I always say in our community, I want to keep it hockey, but it's very hard to not see what's out there right now and everything that's being talked about in the realm of Brady Tkachuk coming to play with the Panthers. But you know this better than anyone, like Dylan Larkin, homegrown kid, hometown kid, so American that wants to maybe move on. So this whole, captains and star players playing Canada wanting to move to America, that's eventually going to slow down, and it's going to go through a different phase, and we're going to see something else here in the next few years. So everyone's going through it right now, and for their teams. And right now, just to be honest, as a Canadian, the Canadian teams they're struggling. And you've got to ice a good team. I know there's the dollar and the taxes and all that stuff, but that's just a piece of the pie. These teams have to be able to ice competitive team and a competitive roster on the ice. So I don't feel for these individuals teams. This is a professional business. This is an amateur sport. So I've seen it again on the other side with the Panthers, when pretty much, hey, move them to Quebec, to now where they are, the class of the league, and being compared to, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles, which I hate to say that as a Cowboys fan, Lou, but how they operate, right? And championships and things like that.
Kirby, this has been fun. I really appreciate it. Tell us one more time where we can find you and what you got working on next. I know it's the end of the season, quote, so to speak, but give us an update on what you're working on next.
Yeah, so for any of your fans in the community that are just NHL fans and looking forward to trades happening, things like that, we'll definitely cover it on the Panthers Perspective side on the Cats and Rats channel on YouTube. We'll go there live, breaking news. We're planning to cover the July 1st free agency day live stream. So anyone from your community, pop by and say hi there. And then as you mentioned earlier on the Twitter X Spaces, everyone can follow me at KJ_Loops, LUPS, for everyone on the audio side. And come into Twitter Spaces. You can request up as a speaker. You can just listen in. And I try to bring people from all around the NHL, Lou, to speak on their teams, content creators, sometimes media people as well. So you're always free to drop by if any Detroit Red Wings news is breaking.
Well, Kirby, make sure you check him out, by the way. I vouch for him. He does great work. Cats and Rats podcast, and the spaces are always informative. It's a great listen to at night. Kirby, thanks for taking time out to be with us this morning, and keep up the great work.
You too, Lou, and happy retirement. Hope to talk to you soon.
Right on. Thank you.